If the MCU's planning to bring Psylocke into Avengers Secret Wars, I got one thing to say: please don't make it complicated. This X-Men hero has one of the most confusing backstories out there, and honestly, she's been done dirty in past X-Men movies. But hey, some new casting rumors are starting to change the vibe, so let's break down everything we know so far about Psylocke, possibly making her live-action MCU debut. Psylocke has had a rough ride in live-action, especially throughout Fox's X-Men series. She never really got the spotlight she deserved, which is a shame, because she's actually one of Marvel's coolest mutant heroes. But now that Marvel Studios has the rights to the X-Men, thanks to Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox back in 2019, there's a chance to finally do right by her. Not only is this great news for longtime rumors of the X-Men, but it also gives Marvel the perfect opportunity to reboot characters that were previously underused or misrepresented. And Psylocke is definitely one of those characters. There's been a bunch of rumors about casting going on since Marvel got the rights to the X-Men, and people have had some pretty interesting ideas. You've got suggestions like Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine, Henry Cavill as Cyclops, Keke Palmer as Rogue, and Austin Butler as Gambit. All pretty wild but fun picks. Now, Psylocke's joined the casting conversation, and the name that keeps popping up the most is Anna Sawai. She's a rising star who could be just the right person to bring a totally fresh version of Psylocke to life in the MCU. Anna Sawai isn't a household name just yet, but she's steadily gaining recognition. You might have seen her in Pachinko, F9, or Monarch: Legacy of Monsters, and most recently she blew people away in Shogun. That performance alone has convinced a lot of folks that she's got the acting chops to take on a complex, layered character like Psylocke. What makes her an even better fit is the fact that she's Japanese, just like Quanon, the character who eventually becomes the second Psylocke in the comics. So not only does the casting make sense culturally, but it also opens the door to tell a version of Psylocke's story that we've never seen in live action before. Marvel's been known to cast rising actors and then turn them into major stars, and Sawai fits that trend perfectly. If she ends up playing Quanon, the MCU could introduce an entirely new version of Psylocke, separate from the one Fox tried, and kind of failed, to bring to life. And this time, the character might actually get the proper attention and development she's always deserved. But let's rewind for a second, because Psylocke's comic book history is a lot. The original version, Betsy Braddock, was a British mutant who eventually ended up swapping bodies with a Japanese assassin named Quanon. That swap happened due to interference from a ninja organization called the Hand. Yes, the same shady group that appeared in the Daredevil Netflix series. This whole storyline lasted for years, with Betsy stuck in Quanon's body and vice versa, and it really got confusing. Eventually, in 2018, Marvel undid the body swap. Betsy went back to her original body and took up the mantle of Captain Britain, while Quanon reclaimed her body and became the new Psylocke. So here's the thing. While Betsy has traditionally been the face of Psylocke in older comics and movies, the current Psylocke in the comics is Quanon. And that's the version rumors are now hoping to see in the MCU. The cool part about Quanon's story is that it really sets her up as a bit of an outsider. After the body swap situation is resolved, she kinda becomes a lone wolf and starts working with other outcast mutants in groups like the Hellions and Fallen Angels. She even ends up saving Betsy's soul at one point, which really cements her place as a hero. It's a storyline that's got emotion, action, and a lot of potential for character growth, so it's not hard to imagine Marvel Studios wanting to explore that side of her. Fox tried twice to bring Psylocke to the big screen, but neither version really hit the mark. The first time was in X-Men: The Last Stand back in 2006, where Mei-Ling Melanson played her. But let's be honest, it was more of a background role than anything else. She was part of Magneto's Brotherhood, and her powers were totally off. She didn't have the iconic psionic weapons or telepathy, just the ability to teleport through shadows. It felt more like a placeholder than a real adaptation of the character. Then there was Olivia Mun's version in X-Men Apocalypse. This time, the powers looked more accurate. She had those psychic blades and cool action scenes, but the character still had no real story, no motivation, and no development. It felt like style over substance. Even though Mun's portrayal was a step up from the first version, it still didn't give Psylocke the depth she deserves. To make things even more confusing, Psylocke popped up again, briefly, in Deadpool and Wolverine, played by an uncredited Aisha Hussein. But she was killed off pretty quickly during a battle, so that didn't do much to move the needle either. All of this just reinforces the idea that if Psylocke is going to have a future in the MCU, Marvel needs to take a different approach. Instead of revisiting the same storylines, they could start fresh with Quanon as the new Psylocke and skip over the whole body swap mess entirely. That would also allow them to introduce Betsy Braddock as a totally separate character, possibly as Captain Britain. Introducing both women separately actually makes a lot of sense. Betsy's had her own journey in the comics. After she and Quanon were finally separated, Betsy took on the Captain Britain mantle, following in her brother Brian Braddock's footsteps. Now there's been some talk about Captain Britain showing up in the MCU, and while most people assume that means Brian, it would be pretty awesome to see Betsy in the role first. That way, both Psylocke and Captain Britain could get proper screen time, and their stories wouldn't need to be mashed into one confusing origin. Of course, there's still one big hurdle. Psylocke's comic book history is super complicated. There's so much going on: body swapping, ninja assassins, mutant powers, twin siblings, soul saving, and even some dimension hopping. It's the kind of thing that would be tough to adapt in a movie without seriously simplifying it. In fact, some rumors think that unless Marvel makes major changes, Psylocke might not make it into the MCU at all. Even in the recent Betsy Braddock Captain Britain #1 comic, the character's convoluted backstory is front and center. During an in-universe interview, the host points out that Betsy has been everything from a model and pilot to a ninja and mutant, and that's before we even get into the whole body-snatching situation. It's a lot to unpack, even for seasoned comic rumorers, so it's no surprise that Marvel might shy away from diving into all that mess on screen. So if Psylocke does get her shot in the MCU, chances are it'll be a very streamlined version of the character. Even a quick cameo where she's part of a strike force made up of multiverse leftovers could set her up for a future solo story. The point is, with the stakes being higher than ever in Secret Wars, Marvel has the perfect chance to slip Psylocke in and finally give her the justice she's been waiting for. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.